My brother stood up at my father's will reading and pointed his finger across the table at me. "We want a DNA test on her, today." My sister nodded beside him, arms folded, lips pressed into that cold little smile she had worn since we were kids. I was 19 years old. My father had been buried 6 days, and my own blood was staring at me like I was a thief at a table that was never mine. My mother's hands were shaking in her lap. I watched her breathe in slow, the way she used to when I was small and scared of thunder. Then she lifted her head, looked at the lawyer, and said something that made the whole room go still. "Then all 3 of them will be tested. All 3. That was your father's condition." Preston laughed, an ugly thin laugh. "Fine. Test us all. It won't change a thing." Vanessa kept smiling. She reached over and squeezed his hand, like they had already won. The lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, did not move. He just looked at my mother, then at me. Then he opened a sealed white envelope I had never seen before. "Your father left one more instruction," he said, "in case this day ever came." My mother closed her eyes. My blood ran cold. "My name is Halle Langford. I'm 19 years old. Before I dive into what happened next, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Also, drop your city and local time in the comments. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from." Alright, back to the story. I grew up in a house with 3 staircases and a father who built everything we owned from scratch. Arthur Langford started with a single delivery van when he was 22. By the time I was born, he owned 9 warehouses, a shipping line, and a name people respected from the coast to the capital. He called me his quiet one. Preston was loud. Vanessa was sharp. I was the one who sat at his feet in the study and listened to him talk about ledgers and loyalty. I was the one who learned how he signed his name, how he read contracts, how he noticed when people were lying. I never felt less loved because I was younger. If anything, my father held me a little tighter than the others. My mother used to watch us from the kitchen door with a look I did not understand back then. I understand it now. Preston was 33. Vanessa was 31. I was 12 years younger than her, which made me the afterthought, the accident, the soft child they tolerated at holidays. That was the story they told themselves. That story was about to break. My father died on a Thursday. He was sitting in his study at 6 in the morning, reading the overseas markets. My mother walked in with his coffee, and the cup was still in his hand when she found him. Heart attack. Fast. The doctor said he did not suffer. I was at college when the call came. Preston called first, and I remember his voice sounding almost normal. "Dad's gone. You should come home." No break, no tears, just a clean, flat sentence. I made the 4-hour drive with one hand on the wheel and the other pressed against my mouth. I don't remember most of it. When I got home, Vanessa was already in the house. She was wearing a black dress I had never seen before. She had been at the office that same morning, and somehow she had stopped to change. She hugged me, but her eyes were scanning the hallway behind me. "Where are the keys to Dad's office safe?" she asked. Not "how are you?" Not "I'm sorry." "Why?" I said. "We need to get the paperwork together for the lawyer." My mother walked past us. She looked like a woman who had aged 20 years in a single afternoon. She stopped, looked at me, and whispered, "Don't let them into his office yet, please." I did not understand. Not then. The funeral was held on a Monday. Half the town came. Business partners, old friends, our pastor, 3 reporters from the trade paper. My father had built something real, and people showed up to honor it. Vanessa stood at the door like she owned the place. She air-kissed mourners. She accepted condolences like they were gifts. At one point, I heard her say, "Yes, the estate is quite substantial. We'll know more by Friday." My brother Preston was worse. He stood by the food and counted heads. I watched him do it. He was counting who had come to see him, now that he was the oldest son of a dead millionaire. My mother sat alone in the front pew for most of the service. I went and sat beside her. She reached for my hand without looking at me and held it so tight my fingers went white. "Whatever happens next," she said under her breath, "promise me one thing. Do not defend yourself. Do not argue. Just let me handle it. Your father wrote instructions for a reason." I did not know what she meant. I promised anyway. On the way out of the church, Preston leaned toward me and said, very softly, so only I could hear it, "Enjoy the next week, kid. After that, things are gonna look different around here." I kept walking. My heart was pounding. Something was coming. The day after the funeral, I walked past my father's study and saw Vanessa crouched at his desk. The drawer was open. Papers were spread across the wood. "What are you doing?" I said. She did not even flinch. "Looking for the policy numbers. Don't worry about it." Mom said to leave his office alone. She stood up and turned to me. For the first time in my life, I saw her look at me with something that was not annoyance or indifference. It was colder than that. It was calculation. "Holly," she said, "let me give you a little advice. When a man like Dad dies, the money doesn't wait. And like the person who moves first wins. So go upstairs, cry if you need to cry, and let the adults handle this." I stared at her. "You're 31, I said, "not 50. And I'm not a child." She smiled. Not a warm smile. That same smile from childhood, the one that meant she was about to take something from me and make me feel stupid for wanting it back. "You're 19, she said. "You're the baby. You're the one Mom coddles. You don't know what this family actually looks like. You never have." She left the room with a stack of my father's papers under her arm. I stood in the doorway for a long time. I had no idea what she meant by that last sentence. But I would. The lawyer arrived on Friday morning. Mr. Caldwell had been my father's attorney for 28 years. He was a thin, gray man with small round glasses and a voice that never went loud. He walked into the house, nodded at my mother, and asked for the living room to be cleared. We all sat down. My mother, me, Preston and his wife, Vanessa and her husband. Mr. Caldwell placed a black leather folder on the coffee table. "Before I begin," he said, "I want to say something. Arthur was my friend. He prepared this will himself with my guidance over a period of almost 7 years. He revised it 4 times. The final version was signed and witnessed 9 months before his death. Every word was his." Preston crossed his legs. "Fine. Let's get to it." Mr. Caldwell looked at him for a long moment. "Mr. Langford," he said, using Preston's full name in a way that felt oddly formal, "your father was a cautious man. He wanted this process to be calm. I strongly suggest we all listen first and ask questions after." Vanessa rolled her eyes, but she stayed quiet. My mother sat beside me and did not move. Her eyes were on the black folder. Mr. Caldwell opened it, and as his finger slid down the first page, I saw something flash across my mother's face. It was not grief, it was fear. Something in this will was about to change my life. Mr. Caldwell read the will out loud. "To my beloved wife Vivienne, I leave 40% of all assets, real and financial, without condition. To my biological children, I leave the remaining 60%, to be divided in equal shares without condition, provided each is confirmed as my biological descendant at the time of distribution." Mr. Caldwell paused. Preston leaned forward. "Say that again," he said. Mr. Caldwell read the line again. Slowly. "To my biological children, to be divided in equal shares, provided each is confirmed as my biological descendant at the time of distribution." Vanessa frowned. "What does that mean? What is the word biological doing in there?" Mr. Caldwell folded his hands. "It is a protective clause. Your father included it to prevent disputes. If a paternity question is ever raised against any named heir, a DNA panel must be completed for all 3 of you before the inheritance can be distributed." The room went so quiet that pin drop could echo like thunder. He further explained, "If no paternity question is raised against any named heir, no DNA panel will be involved, and the inheritance will be shared equally amongst 3 of you." I remember the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. I remember the way my mother's knuckles went white. Preston's face changed first. I watched it happen. A slow, cruel smile spread across his mouth. "All 3, he repeated. "All 3, Mr. Caldwell said. Preston looked at Vanessa. Vanessa looked back at him. Then they both looked at me. "Well," Preston said, his voice was suddenly soft, almost warm. "That's interesting." My stomach dropped. I was about to learn what they had always believed about me. "Mom," Preston said. He did not turn his head. He kept his eyes on me. "Do you have something to say about that clause?" My mother's voice was small. "It was a standard clause. Your father wrote it for peace of mind." "Peace of mind," Vanessa said. She laughed, short and dry. "That is such a strange phrase, isn't it? A man puts a paternity clause in his will, and his widow calls it peace of mind." I looked at my mother. She was pale. "Hallie," Preston said, finally addressing me. You know what people used to say in this town, right? After Mom came back to Dad, after she showed up at the house with a 5-year-old boy she did not want to talk about, and then you were born 8 months later. Do you know what people whispered at the club? I said nothing. They said Dad came home to clean up someone else's mess, Preston continued. They said Mom was pregnant before she ever came back. They said you were not his at all. Vanessa tilted her head and smiled at me with false sympathy. We never said anything while Dad was alive, she said. Out of respect. Out of love. But now the clause is in the will, and we have a right to know. Dad himself said so. My mother stood up from the couch. Don't do this, she said. Please. Not now. Not ever. But they already had. Sit down, Mom. This isn't about you. It is about me, my mother said. Her voice was steady now, which scared me more than the shaking. It is entirely about me. She turned to both of them. To Preston, the boy she had carried and raised. To Vanessa, the daughter she had taught to braid hair in the mirror. Listen to me, she said. Please. Your sister has done nothing to you. Nothing. She is 19 years old. She just buried her father. Whatever you are feeling about the money, whatever the lawyer just said. Please. Not like this. You are all 3 siblings. You all have the same mother. Please love each other for that alone. Vanessa stood up. She is not our sister, Mom, Vanessa said. That is the whole point. We have always known. You have always known. And now so did Dad, apparently, because why else would he put that clause in there? He put it in there to protect all 3 of you from exactly this conversation, my mother said. He trusted that none of you would ever ask for it. Preston laughed. He miscalculated. My mother took a step toward him. Her whole body was trembling. Preston, she said, if you push this, if you open this door, I am telling you right now as your mother, you will not like what comes out of it. I am begging you, please, let the will stand. Take your share, let Halle have her share, and walk out of this house. Preston met her eyes. No, he said. The room was silent for a long time. I could hear Vanessa's husband breathing beside her. I could hear the grandfather clock. I could hear the blood in my own ears. My mother sat back down very slowly. She looked at Mr. Caldwell. Read the rest of the clause, she said. All of it. Mr. Caldwell flipped to the next page. In the event that the biological relationship of any named child is formally challenged, all 3 named children shall undergo the same genetic testing. The results, once verified by a court-approved lab, shall be binding on the distribution of the estate. Any child whose biological relationship to me is not confirmed shall be excluded from all shares of the inheritance, without appeal, without exception. He looked up. Your father signed this himself. It was notarized. It was witnessed by 2 judges and a county clerk. Preston smiled. Then let's do it, all 3, today. Today? My mother said. Today, Vanessa said. Why wait? The lab is 40 minutes away. I called them yesterday just to check the process. My mother's face changed. You called them yesterday? She whispered. Before the will was even read? Preston shrugged. We knew what was in the will in general terms. Dad hinted at it years ago. We were just preparing. There is nothing wrong with being prepared. My mother turned to me then. For the first time since the reading began, she looked at me directly. Halle, she said, I am so sorry. Her voice broke on the word sorry. I did not know why yet. We took 2 cars to the lab. Preston drove one. Vanessa rode with him. Their spouses followed in the second car. My mother and I went alone in hers. For the first 10 minutes, she did not speak. She just drove. Both hands on the wheel. Her jaw was tight enough to crack teeth. Finally, she said, whatever comes out of that lab today, I want you to remember something. Your father loved you. He loved you more than anything he ever built. You were his treasure. Mom, I said, why are you talking like this? Like something is going to happen. She did not answer right away. Something is going to happen, she said. I have been waiting 20 years for it to happen. I hoped it would not. I prayed. I did everything I could to keep the peace in that house. But your brother and sister just opened a door I have been holding shut for a very long time. I stared at her. Mom, what are you saying? She shook her head. Not now, baby. Not here. I need you to sit in that lab. I need you to give your sample. And I need you to trust me for the next 72 hours. Can you do that? My hands were cold. Yes, I said. She reached across the console and squeezed my hands so hard I almost gasped. Good girl, she said. And in that moment, I understood. My mother was afraid, but not afraid for me. What was she afraid of? The lab was clean and bright. A young woman in blue scrubs greeted us at the front desk and walked us to separate booths. She explained the process: cheek swab, sealed tube, chain of custody form. Preston went first. He was laughing the whole time. He made a joke about how the swab tickled. Vanessa rolled her eyes at him like she always did, like they were sharing a private performance. My sample took 11 seconds. I signed the form. I did not look at my mother. On the way out, Mr. Caldwell was waiting in the lobby. He had followed us. I had not noticed until that moment. "The results will be ready in 72 hours, he said. "Faster than standard, but your father arranged priority processing in advance." Preston frowned. "In advance? What do you mean in advance?" Mr. Caldwell did not blink. "Your father set up the relationship with this lab 3 years ago. He had a file on hold. He said to me at the time, if the day ever comes that one of my children demands this, I want the wait to be short. I want it clean. I want it done." Preston's smile faltered for the first time that day. "He set this up," he said slowly, 3 years ago." "Yes." Vanessa turned to her husband. They exchanged a look I did not understand. My mother was watching all of it. Her eyes were calm now. My father had been 10 moves ahead of his own children. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. Preston and Vanessa stopped speaking to my mother. They stopped speaking to me. They holed up in the east wing of the house with their spouses and held long, whispered meetings. I heard them through the walls at night, arguing about percentages, about legal options, about what they would do with their shares once the results confirmed what they already believed. I spent most of the 3 days in my father's study. I opened the drawer Vanessa had been digging through the morning after the funeral. Most of the papers were gone, but near the back, under an old ledger, I found a single white envelope with my name on the front, written in my father's handwriting. For Halle. To be opened on the day your siblings stop being your siblings. My hands shook when I read it. I held it for almost an hour before I opened it. Inside was a letter, dated 2 years before he died. My Halle, if you are reading this, then Preston and Vanessa have done what I always feared they would do. Do not be afraid. Do not hate them. They are not bad people. They are people who believe the wrong thing about you because your mother and I chose long ago never to tell them the truth. I am writing this now because I love you and because you deserve to know everything before the lawyer does. Keep reading, my quiet one. My father had left me the whole story. The letter went on for 4 handwritten pages. Your mother and I were married for 9 years before Preston was born. Those years were good. We were young and broke, and we were happy. Then the business started growing, and I was traveling more, and things between us began to change. When Preston was 2 and Vanessa was still a baby, I started to notice small things. Your mother would not meet my eyes when I came home from long trips. Her phone would ring late at night, and she would step out of the room. A neighbor of ours, a man named Julian Vance, began showing up at the house whenever I was away. I ignored it for a long time. I was a proud man. I did not want to ask the question. Then one night I asked. Your mother cried. She told me everything. She told me she had loved Julian Vance for almost 5 years. She told me she was sorry. She told me she did not know anymore who the father of our children was. I packed a bag that night. I left the house. I did not come back for 12 years. During those 12 years, your mother lived with Julian Vance. They had a child together, a boy named Theo. I heard about it the way I heard about the weather. From a distance. Then Julian Vance died in a car accident. And your mother called me. She called me on a Tuesday night. She said she was not asking me to come back. She said she only wanted to tell me that she had been wrong. About all of it. She said she still loved me, and that she always had, even when she was wrong. I did not answer her for 3 weeks. Then I drove to her house, and I sat with her at her kitchen table, and I told her that if we were going to try again, there would be a condition. I wanted a paternity test on Preston and Vanessa. She agreed. The results came back 2 weeks later. Preston was not my biological son. Vanessa was not my biological daughter. Julian Vance was the father of both of them. I remember sitting in a parking lot outside the lab for 3 hours. I remember crying harder than I had ever cried in my life. And then I remember driving to your mother's house and telling her that I did not care. That I had raised those 2 children in their first 3 years. That I loved them. That they were mine, biology or not. We got back together that month. You, my quiet one, were born 8 months later. You are my only biological child. You have always been. You are the only good thing that came out of the worst chapter of our lives, and I have loved you every single day since. Now, read the last page carefully. The last page of my father's letter was shorter. Halle, I never told your brother and sister the truth. Your mother and I agreed. They were still very little, and what good would it have done? I raised them. I loved them. I paid for their schools. I walked Vanessa down the aisle at her wedding. None of that was fake. None of that was less. But I knew, even then, that there was a chance one day they would come for you. Money does strange things to people who believe they are owed more than the rest. So 2 years ago, I sat down with Mr. Caldwell, and I made one quiet change to my will. A clause. It says that if any of my 3 children is ever accused of not being mine, then all 3 must be tested. The clause was reviewed by the state bar. It is airtight. It cannot be challenged. Because I know, Halle. I know that if that day comes, it will be because Preston and Vanessa have decided you do not belong to this family. And I wanted on that day for the truth to answer them. Not you. Not your mother. The truth. I am not doing this to punish them. I am doing this to protect you. Take what is yours. Be kind to your mother. She has carried this for a very long time. And do not answer the phone when they call to apologize. They will call. I love you more than my own life, quiet one. Dad. I folded the letter, and I waited. Mr. Caldwell called the family back to the house on the morning of the 4th day. Preston arrived in a gray suit. Vanessa arrived in a cream-colored dress. Their spouses came with them. They were smiling, both of them. They thought they had won. My mother sat down beside me. She squeezed my hand under the table. Mr. Caldwell placed a large sealed envelope on the table. Before I open this, he said, I want to remind everyone of the clause you agreed to in writing 4 days ago. Whatever is in this envelope is binding. The results are court-approved. There is no appeal. There is no second test. Do you all understand? Preston nodded. Open it. Mr. Caldwell broke the seal. He removed 3 sheets of paper. He read the first one. Halle Langford, confirmed biological daughter of Arthur Langford. Probability of paternity, 99.999%. Preston leaned forward. He did not even look at me. His eyes were on the next page. Mr. Caldwell read the second sheet. Preston Langford. No biological relationship to Arthur Langford detected. The room stopped breathing. Vanessa's smile froze in place, like it had been painted there. Mr. Caldwell read the third sheet. Vanessa Langford. No biological relationship to Arthur Langford detected. For a full 10 seconds no one spoke. Then Preston stood up so fast his chair tipped over backward. That is impossible, he said. That is a lie. My mother closed her eyes. It was the truth. Vanessa started laughing first. High and wrong. Like a glass breaking. That is a mistake, she said. This is obviously a mistake. Redo the test. Right now. I am not paying for this circus. There is no redo, Mr. Caldwell said quietly. The clause you agreed to in writing is very clear on that point. Preston pointed at my mother. You, he said. You did this. You set this up. You and Dad. Years ago. You have been planning this since we were little. My mother stood up. No, Preston, she said. I have been hiding this since you were little. There is a difference. Preston's face broke in a way I had never seen a man's face break before. Who is my father? He whispered. If not him, who? My mother's hand went to her mouth. Her whole body shook. His name was Julian Vance, she said. He was our neighbor. He is dead. He died in a car accident 22 years ago. Theo is his son too. All 3 of you, you and Vanessa and Theo, have the same biological father. Vanessa sat down hard on the couch. Her husband tried to touch her shoulder. She shoved his hand away. You lied to us our entire lives, she said. Our entire lives. I did, my mother said, and I am so sorry. I tried to tell you in my own way. I begged you not to open this door. I begged you on my knees. You let us call him Dad. He was your dad. In every way that mattered, he was your dad. Preston turned on Mr. Caldwell. We are challenging this will, he said. I want lawyers in this house by tonight. This clause is absurd. It is discriminatory. It is against every principle of inheritance law in this state. Mr. Caldwell did not move. "Mr. Langford," he said, "you are welcome to hire any attorney you wish. I will save you some time and money. Your father drafted this clause with a team of 3 estate attorneys over a period of 4 years. It has been reviewed by the state bar. It has been upheld in 2 similar cases, both of which I will provide you the references for. It is a voluntary, explicit, signed consent to genetic testing. You signed it yourself in this room 4 days ago in front of witnesses and a video camera." Preston blinked. "Video camera?" "Standard practice for high-value estate proceedings," Mr. Caldwell said. "Every word of our will reading is recorded. Your father insisted on this. The recording is sealed with the state probate court." Vanessa looked up. "He filmed us. Your father protected himself and his estate and his biological daughter." Preston was breathing through his teeth. "So that is it," he said. "We get nothing?" "You get exactly what the will provides for non-biological heirs," Mr. Caldwell said. "Which is 0. Your father did, however, leave each of you a personal letter. I have them here. You may read them in private if you wish." Preston knocked the letters off the table. "I do not want his letters," he said. "I want his money." He had just said the quiet part out loud, and everyone in the room heard it. What happened over the next 10 days was almost unbelievable. Preston was a senior partner in a firm he had joined because my father had made the introductions 12 years earlier. The firm had a morality clause. When the story leaked, which it did within 48 hours, they held an emergency vote. Preston was out of a job by that Friday afternoon. Vanessa was the president of 3 charity boards in the city. All 3 asked her to step down. Quietly at first. Then not so quietly, when 2 of the boards discovered she had been drawing a private administrative salary from one of them for years. Preston's house was in my father's name, held under a family trust that specified residence was contingent on being a named heir. With Preston no longer a named heir, the trust revoked his use of the property. He had 30 days to vacate. Vanessa's car, her vacation home, her credit line at the family bank, all gone within a week. Their spouses did not take it well. Vanessa's husband filed for divorce on day 11. Preston's wife took their children and moved to her mother's house in another state. I watched all of this from the living room window of the house I had grown up in. I did not smile. I did not celebrate. I just watched. My mother sat beside me most evenings, knitting. She did not talk much. Neither did I. Some nights the phone rang. It always rang after dark. I never picked up. 3 weeks after the will reading, a young man came to the front door of our house. He was 23 years old. He had our mother's eyes and a face I had only ever seen in old photographs my mother kept in a drawer in her bedroom. Theo. Until that day, I had known about him only as a footnote, a half-brother my mother never spoke of, who had been adopted out to his paternal grandparents after Julian Vance died. He had been raised in another city, by good people, with my mother knowing exactly where he was every year of his life. He just never came back. Until now. He stood on the porch and he looked at my mother and he said, "I heard about Dad, Arthur. I'm sorry. And I heard about the rest of it. I'm sorry about that too." My mother started crying. She hugged him for a very long time. Theo came inside. He sat with us in the kitchen. He told us he had known he was adopted since he was 6. He had known my mother had other children. He had chosen, for his own reasons, not to reach out while Arthur was alive. He did not want to cause problems. He respected my father. He read about his businesses in the papers. "I do not want anything," he said, before my mother could even ask. "I just wanted to meet my sister, my real sister." He looked at me. I almost broke in half. Later that night, after Theo had gone to a hotel, my mother sat across from me at the kitchen table. "I need to tell you the whole thing," she said. "From my side, before anyone else does. Because I owe you the truth, and I have owed it to you for a long time." I waited. "I was 22 when I married your father," she said. "I loved him. I still love him. But I was young and I was lonely, and when he started working 16-hour days, I made a choice I cannot take back. Julian Vance lived 2 doors down. He was charming and he was around, and I had Preston, and then Vanessa, and I told myself they were your father's. I told myself that because I needed them to be." "And then Dad asked for the test," I said. "And then your father asked for the test," she said. "The second time, when he came back." I was the one who insisted he do it, because I could not keep pretending anymore. Why didn't you tell Preston and Vanessa? She closed her eyes. Because your father raised them. Because he paid for every birthday, every school, every graduation, every car. He earned the right to be their father, and I was not going to take that from him, or from them. And now they have taken it from themselves. My mother did not answer. She just reached across the table and held my hand. Preston's first call came on a Tuesday evening. I was in my father's study, going through his ledgers, learning the business the way he had taught me since I was small. My phone buzzed on the desk. Preston's name lit up the screen. I did not pick up. He called again 20 minutes later, then again an hour after that. Then he left a voicemail. I listened to it 3 days later when I felt strong enough. Halle? It's Preston. Look. Things got out of hand. I was angry. I was grieving. I said things I did not mean. You are my sister. You will always be my sister. That does not change because some lab in some office said something on a piece of paper. Mom lied to all of us. We are all victims here. I am not asking for everything. I am asking for a conversation. Please, please call me back. I deleted the voicemail. Vanessa called next. Her approach was different. She cried through the entire first minute of her voicemail. She said she was sorry. She said she had been cruel. She said she had always loved me. She said she did not want any money. She just wanted her sister back. I almost picked up. Then I remembered my father's last line in his letter. Do not answer the phone when they call to apologize. They will call. He had known. He had known his own children better than they knew themselves. I deleted Vanessa's message too. A year passed. I took a year off college and moved back home. My mother needed me. And honestly, I needed her. I sat with Mr. Caldwell 3 times a week for 9 months. He walked me through the business my father had built. He introduced me to the managers, the suppliers, the accountants, the lawyers. He never pushed. He never rushed. He just answered my questions one at a time, the way my father used to. The company did not shrink. The company grew. Because the people who had worked for my father for 20 years stayed. Because the reputation my father had built was stronger than one scandal. Because I was not trying to prove anything to anyone. I was just trying to do it right. By the time I turned 20, my name was on contracts my father had signed for 30 years. Preston moved to another city. He took a mid-level job at a competitor. I heard, through old friends, that he told people our family had robbed him of his birthright. People smiled at him when he said it, and walked away when he was not looking. Vanessa's divorce finalized that spring. She moved in with her mother-in-law, of all people. She started selling handbags online. She was broke and bitter and loud about it on social media. Theo came to Sunday dinners every other week. He and I were rebuilding something our mother had lost. One brick at a time. 2 months ago, I drove past the old family estate, the house I grew up in. The house my father built with his own hands. The house where the will was read. The house where 2 people I used to call brother and sister tried to erase me from the family for the price of a signature. I had sold the house by then. My mother did not want to live there anymore. Too many ghosts, she said. We moved into a smaller place near the water. The new owners were a young couple with 2 small girls. They were painting the shutters blue the day I drove by. My phone buzzed on the seat beside me. Preston. 23rd call this month. I did not pick up. At a red light, I opened the glove compartment and took out my father's letter. The paper had softened from a year of me folding it and reading it. I knew every line. I set it on the passenger seat beside me. The light turned green. I drove past the house one last time. I did not slow down. Because the thing about family, I learned, is that family is not blood. And family is not a will. And family is not a last name on an envelope. Family is who shows up. Family is who stays. Family is who tells you the truth, even when it costs them everything. My father did. And I never answered the phone. If this story touched something deep within you, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever had to rebuild your life from ashes, or you're still quietly piecing it back together, know this: you belong here. Subscribe, leave a like, and stay close. The next chapter is on its way.